When my daughter told me you have 48 hours to get out of this house, it belongs to me now, I collapsed onto my knees like a building demolished from within. Days later, I was sleeping in my car outside the courthouse, waiting to speak with any lawyer who would listen. That's when I realized family ties can become nooses when money enters the picture. If you're watching this, please subscribe and tell me where you're from. Because trust me, this story twists more than a hurricane on the Florida coast. My name is Eduardo Santos. I'm 62 years old, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I'd given my daughter Mariana everything she needed to become a decent human being. Clearly, I was wrong. That morning started like any other. I made my coffee, strong and black, just like my late wife used to prepare it. The house was quiet, too quiet since Sophia passed 5 years ago. The cancer took her quickly, but the emptiness she left expanded like a universe. Mariana was our only child, our miracle baby after years of trying. I dedicated my life to making sure she never wanted for anything. I remember checking my watch, 9:15 a.m. The call from my banker Stefan had seemed urgent, but routine. Eduardo, we need to discuss your accounts. There's been activity you should know about. When I arrived at his office, Stefan's usual warm smile was replaced with something else. Pity, perhaps? He slid a folder across his mahogany desk. These were processed yesterday, he said. Mariana's signature is on all of them. The trust, the house deed, your investment accounts, everything has been transferred. I laughed. It had to be a mistake. That's impossible, I said. Those accounts require dual authorization. Stefan's eyes dropped. Not anymore. The paperwork was changed last month. You signed it. The document he showed me bore my signature. Except I had never seen this paper before in my life. This is forged, I whispered, feeling the floor beneath me shift. I'm sorry, Eduardo. Legally, everything's in order. Mariana now owes everything your parents left you. My phone buzzed. A text from Mariana. Dad, we need to talk. Come home now. I had no idea I was driving toward the end of life as I knew it. Script part separator ===. When I pulled into our driveway, there was an unfamiliar black Mercedes parked alongside Mariana's Audi. The front door was unlocked. Inside, my daughter sat at our dining table with a man in an expensive suit, her lawyer, as I would soon discover. Dad, she said, not getting up. Her voice was different, colder, more calculated than I'd ever heard before. This is Mr. Grayson. The man didn't offer his hand. Mr. Santos, we're here to discuss transition arrangements. Transition? I repeated. Mariana straightened some papers. I've decided to make some changes. The house needs renovations, and frankly, it's time I took control of the family assets. What are you talking about? This is my home. Your mother and I. Mom's been gone 5 years, she cut in sharply. And the estate was meant to pass to me eventually anyway. Mr. Grayson slid a document toward me. You have 48 hours to vacate the premises. All personal belongings not removed by then become property of the new owner. I felt dizzy. Mariana, this can't be real. Why would you? You never were good with money, Dad. The business has been stagnant for years. I have plans, investments lined up. Partners who see potential where you see tradition. Partners. What partners? She exchanged a glance with Grayson that made my blood run cold. That's not your concern anymore, she said. I've set aside enough for you to rent a modest apartment. Be grateful. When I reached for her hand, she pulled away. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Grayson's phone rang. As he stepped aside to take the call, I heard him laugh, a quiet, satisfied sound that burned into my memory. I raised you better than this, I whispered to my daughter. Her eyes met mine, unrecognizable. No, Dad. You raised me to recognize opportunity. That night, I packed what I could into my car. 43 years of life reduced to 3 suitcases and a box of photographs. As I took one last look at the home where I'd carried my bride across the threshold, where I'd raised my daughter, where I'd mourned my wife, something broke inside me. But something else hardened. This wasn't over. Script part separator ===. I slept in my car that first night, parked behind the neighborhood diner where Sophia and I had our first date. Fitful sleep came between waves of disbelief. How could Mariana do this? What had I missed? By morning, my back ached almost as much as my heart. I scrolled through my contacts, friends I'd neglected during years caring for Sophia, distant relatives, former colleagues. Who could I trust now? I called Robert Miller, my oldest friend. We'd drifted apart after he warned me years ago that I was spoiling Mariana rotten. Now those words haunted me.
Eddie.
Jesus, you sound terrible, he said after I explained. I need a lawyer, Rob. Someone good. Come over.
Now.
We'll figure this out. Rob's modest home felt like a palace compared to my Camry's back seat. His wife Linda made coffee while I showed him the papers. This signature, he said, squinting. It's good, but not perfect. I never signed it. I believe you. He tapped a business card on the table. Claudia Vasquez. Best fraud attorney in the state. Not cheap, but I have about $3,000 in a separate account Mariana doesn't know about. Emergency cash. Rob shook his head. That's not enough for this fight. Then I'll sell my watch. My father's cufflinks. Whatever it takes. Linda touched my shoulder. You can stay here while you sort this out. That night, in their spare bedroom, I found a box of Mariana's childhood drawings Linda had saved. One showed stick figures, Daddy, Mommy, and me, holding hands beneath a yellow sun. I wept until there was nothing left. The next morning, I sat across from Claudia Vasquez in her downtown office. Forgery, elder abuse, possibly identity theft, she listed, reviewing my documents. But here's what worries me. Did you ever sign anything recently without reading it carefully? A memory flashed. Mariana bringing papers for the business insurance update while I was distracted watching the baseball game. Had I been that foolish? The timing matters, Claudia continued. And we need to understand why now. What's the rush? Nobody pulls this kind of maneuver without pressure or motivation beyond simple greed. She was right. This wasn't just about money. Something deeper was driving my daughter's betrayal. And uncovering that truth might be my only path forward. Script part separator Claudia made 3 phone calls while I sat in her office, each one revealing another disturbing layer to Mariana's scheme. Your daughter applied for 3 business loans last month using the property as collateral, she said, looking up from her notes. And there's more. She's listed a business partner on these applications.
Who?
I demanded. James Grayson. The lawyer? He's her partner? My hands began to shake. Not just her business partner, Eduardo. Claudia hesitated. According to my contact at the county clerk's office, they applied for a marriage license 2 weeks ago. The room tilted sideways. Grayson had to be at least 15 years older than Mariana. I'd never heard his name before yesterday. This isn't just about the inheritance, Claudia said. They're building something together, and they needed your assets out of the way fast. As I left her office, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Meet me at Carlo's Cafe in 1 hour. Come alone. Elena R. Elena Rodriguez had been my wife's best friend, but we'd barely spoken since the funeral. She was waiting in a back booth, looking nervously over her shoulder. I overheard them, Eduardo, she whispered after I sat down. At the country club last week. Grayson was arguing with someone on the phone about development permits. Something about the old man being in the way, and demolition schedules. Demolition? Of my house. Not just your house. Elena slid a folded newspaper toward me. The entire block. Your father's properties. Look. The business section featured an announcement. Coastal Heights development to break ground next quarter. The architectural rendering showed luxury condominiums where our neighborhood currently stood. Mariana's been working with Grayson for 8 months, Elena continued. But there's something else. I think she's being manipulated. The way he controls her. It's not right. My phone rang. The hospital. My daughter had been admitted after collapsing at a restaurant. As I rushed out, Elena grabbed my arm. Be careful. This isn't just about money anymore. Script part separator I arrived at the hospital with my heart in my throat. Despite everything, Mariana was my daughter. The nurse directed me to room 312, where I found her pale against the white sheets and 4 in her arm. For a moment, she looked like my little girl again. "Dad," she whispered, eyes filling with tears. "I didn't think you'd come." "Of course I came," I said, taking the chair beside her bed. The doctor explained later it was exhaustion and dehydration. As I sat there watching her sleep, my phone buzzed with a message from Claudia. "Found something. The development permits require 100% ownership of all properties by June 1st. That's why the rush." June 1st. Just 3 weeks away. When Mariana woke, something had changed in her expression. "He said you wouldn't fight back," she murmured. "That you'd just accept it." "Who?" "Grayson." She nodded weakly. "There's so much you don't know, Dad." "Then tell me." Before she could answer, the door swung open. James Grayson stood there, his face darkening when he saw me. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. "Visiting my daughter," I replied, standing my ground. "Your ex-daughter, you mean? Isn't that right, Mari?" His voice carried a threat I couldn't miss. Mariana's eyes dropped. "James, please. Not now. We have a schedule to keep," he snapped. "And sentimentality isn't part of it." As he approached the bed, I noticed bruising on Mariana's wrist that the hospital gown had hidden. Something clicked into place. This wasn't just about money or property. "Get out," I told him, my voice steady. "Excuse me." Grayson laughed. "Get out, or I'll call security." His eyes narrowed. "You have no idea what you're dealing with, old man." But as he stormed out, I caught Mariana's expression, relief mixed with fear. Whatever was happening here went deeper than I'd imagined, and I needed answers fast. Script part separator, After Grayson left, Mariana's face crumpled. She looked both younger and older than her 34 years. "He wasn't supposed to be this way," she whispered. "In the beginning, he was different." I took her hand carefully, avoiding the bruises. "Tell me everything, Mari." She started slowly, then the words tumbled out like a confession. James Grayson had approached her 8 months ago, claiming to represent investors interested in developing the neighborhood. Properties owned by my family for generations were the final pieces they needed. He was charming, Dad. Made me feel special. Said I had business instincts you never appreciated. And the marriage license. Her eyes widened. "How did you?" She shook her head. "It was his idea. Said it would simplify the legal process." "And the forgery?" She looked away. "He brought in someone. Said it was standard procedure when the property owner was difficult." "Difficult?" "I'm your father, Mari. He said you'd never sell. That your sentimentality would cost us millions." Her voice cracked. "Then once I signed everything, he changed. Started controlling everything. My schedule, my friends, even what I wear." "Why now?" "Why the 48-hour deadline? The investors have a deadline. The permits expire June 1st. She hesitated. "Dad, there's something else. The development plans, they're not entirely legal. Environmental corners cut, building code violations." A nurse entered to check Mariana's vitals, ending our conversation. As she adjusted the 4, I noticed a business card fall from the nurse's pocket, Coastal Heights Development. Before I could react, the nurse gave me a warning look and whispered, "We're watching you both." After she left, Mariana grabbed my arm. "They have people everywhere. James said if I backed out, we'd both regret it." My phone buzzed. "Claudia, Eduardo, the forgery expert found something. Get to my office now." I looked at my daughter, torn between staying with her and following this lead. "Go," she said. "Find a way out for both of us." Script part separator, I reached Claudia's office as rain began to pelt the city. She wasn't alone. A balding man with thick glasses sat surrounded by documents. "Eduardo, this is Frank Morgan, forensic document examiner," Claudia said. "Tell him what you found, Frank." Frank pointed to the signature on the transfer documents. "Look at the indentation patterns. These weren't signed on the same day. And this, he indicated microscopic dots near my alleged signature, is a hallmark of a particular forger. One I've testified against twice.
Who?
I leaned forward. Victor Ramirez. Works exclusively for offshore entities setting up questionable real estate deals. Frank adjusted his glasses. Here's the kicker. He was arrested 3 days ago on unrelated charges. He's looking to deal. Claudia nodded. I've arranged a meeting. If Ramirez confirms he forged your signature on Grayson's orders, we can stop the transfer, I finished. And more. We can file criminal charges. My phone rang. Rob's number. Eddie, get to the hospital now. Mariana's gone. What do you mean gone? She checked herself out against medical advice. But that's not all. I was bringing her some clothes when I overheard 2 men in suits. They mentioned Coastal Heights and moving the Santos girl somewhere secure until closing. My blood ran cold. They've taken her. Claudia was already grabbing her coat. This isn't just fraud anymore. We need to move fast. Outside her office, I noticed a black SUV parked across the street. The same one I'd seen near Rob's house that morning. Don't you look, Claudia murmured. We're being watched. Take my car from the garage. I'll create a distraction. Minutes later, I was driving through the rain toward the one person who might know where they'd taken my daughter. Stefan, my banker, who'd first shown me those transfer papers with suspicious reluctance. Script part separator, I found Stefan at his weekend fishing cabin, a place he'd mentioned during happier times. His face drained of color when he opened the door. Eduardo, how did you find me? Remember when you talked about catching largemouth bass here? After Sophia's funeral, you said it helped you think clearly. I stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. I need that clarity now. The cabin was sparse but comfortable. A half-packed suitcase lay open on the couch. Going somewhere? I asked. Stefan sank into a chair. They're burning everything down, Eduardo. I couldn't stop it. Who is they? Endiveres, my daughter. He poured himself a whiskey with trembling hands. It's bigger than Grayson. He's just the local face. These developers, they're connected to people who don't take no for an answer. The name, Stefan. Give me something concrete. Helix Partners. Based offshore. They buy, build, and disappear before the violations catch up. He drained his glass. Your father refused to sell to them 20 years ago. They've waited patiently. And my daughter, where would they take her? His eyes darted to the window. There's a property. The old marina resort they're using as headquarters. But Eduardo, he grabbed my arm. They have security. Former military. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We have what you want. You have what we need. Your signature on the approval documents. Fair trade. Marina. 10 p.m. Come alone. I showed Stefan the message. His face went ashen. It's a trap, he whispered. They'll have you sign, then make you both disappear. I stood. Call Claudia Vasquez. Tell her everything. And this, I scribbled a note. My father's safety deposit box number and the key location. There's something there they don't know about. As I headed for the door, Stefan called out, "What are you going to do?" I turned, rain dripping from my coat. Something my father taught me, never go to a gunfight without ammunition. Script part separator, The rain had intensified by the time I reached my late wife's sister's house. Teresa had always been practical, sometimes brutally so, which was exactly what I needed now. You look like hell, Eduardo, she said, ushering me in. I need Dad's old files. The ones about the coastal property disputes. Teresa Zais Videnid. Those are 30 years old.
Why?
Helix Partners. They're back. She froze, then disappeared into the basement without another word. When she returned, she carried a dusty metal box. Your father knew they'd return someday, she said, unlocking it with a small key from her necklace. Carlos was always 3 steps ahead. Inside were files my father had compiled, evidence of Helix Partners' prior illegal activities, environmental violations, and most importantly, Copies of easement documents they didn't know existed. This land they want, it can never be developed, I realized, scanning the papers. The conservation easement Dad established is perpetual. Exactly, Teresa nodded. Your father suspected someone inside the family might be tempted someday. He created a failsafe. My phone buzzed with a message from Claudia. Frank got Ramirez to talk. We have the forgery confession recorded. Police involved now. Where are you? I typed quickly, gathering ammunition. Meet-me at de Marina at 9:30. Bring law enforcement, quietly. Teresa pressed something else into my hand, a small digital recorder. Your father taught me something too, she said grimly. Always keep receipts. As I drove toward the marina, I rehearsed what I would say to Mariana when I saw her. The rain finally stopped, and a full moon emerged, illuminating the coastal road. Whatever happened next, I wouldn't be walking in unarmed. Script part separator ===. The old marina loomed against the moonlit sky, its weathered sign flickering erratically. I parked a quarter-mile away and approached on foot, the easement documents and recorder secure in my jacket. At 9:25, I spotted Claudia's car hidden among trees near the north entrance. A brief flash of headlights confirmed they were in position. The main building was dimly lit, windows reflecting the restless water beyond. I entered through unlocked doors into what once was the lobby, now a makeshift office space. Large development plans covered a central table, my neighborhood reimagined as luxury condominiums. Right on time, Mr. Santos. Grayson emerged from shadows, polished as ever despite the late hour. Punctuality. I admire that in a man being relieved of his assets. That is my daughter. He gestured toward a side door. Safe. Anxious to conclude our business. When Mariana appeared, flanked by two security men, her eyes held both relief and shame. Dad, I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't know it would go this far. Family reunions are touching, Grayson interrupted, but we have documents waiting for your signature. He slid papers across the table. Sign these final approvals, and you both walk out of here. Refuse and things become complicated. I pretended to review the documents. This transferevere fintou com as tal heights. Everything your daughter hasn't already gifted us, yes. A simple signature, and this unpleasantness ends. I reached inside my jacket. Grayson tensed, but relaxed when I produced only a pen. As I leaned forward, I pressed the recorder's button beneath the table. Before I sign, tell me, was threatening my daughter part of the original plan, or did you improvise that part? Grayson smiled coldly. Business is business. Sometimes leverage is necessary. And the forgery, the fraudulent transfers? Standard procedure for difficult acquisitions. The old always resist progress. He leaned closer. Your father was the same, sentimental, stubborn. It cost him opportunities. Don't make his mistake. I uncapped the pen. And once I sign, the recording of this conversation goes where exactly? His smile faltered. What recording? Script part separator The one capturing your confession to forgery, fraud, and kidnapping. I smiled, tapping the recorder now visible on the table. Helix Partners should hire smarter local talent. Grayson lunged across the table, but I was ready. Decades of building houses had kept me stronger than I looked. I caught his wrist, twisting until he gasped. You have no idea what you're dealing with, he spat. Actually, I do. I held up the easement documents with my free hand. My father placed these properties under conservation easement 30 years ago. They can never be developed. Your entire plan is built on quicksand. The security men moved forward, but froze at the sound of police radios outside. This is private property. Grayson shouted. Yes, it is. My property. I released his wrist as Claudia entered with 2 detectives and the district attorney. And unlike you, they have a warrant. What followed happened in rapid succession. Miranda rights read, handcuffs clicked, evidence collected. Mariana collapsed into a chair, sobbing as a paramedic examined her bruises. Grayson, being led away, turned back with venom in his eyes. This isn't over, Santos. People like me don't stay down. A detective handed me my recorder. We'll need this for evidence, sir. I nodded, watching my daughter's hands shake as she gave her statement. The betrayal still cut deep, but seeing her vulnerable stripped away some of my anger. She'd been both victim and accomplice, a complexity I was only beginning to understand. When the statements were finished and dawn approached, Mariana finally met my eyes. How did you know? She asked softly. About the easements. Script part separator, Your grandfather was wiser than any of us knew, I told her as we walked along the marina dock. The pale light of dawn cast long shadows across the water. The morning breeze carried the scent of salt and new beginnings. He never trusted developers, especially after what happened to the old fishing village south of here. They promised jobs, left pollution. I paused, watching a heron take flight. Dad documented everything, created legal barriers they never knew about. Mariana hugged herself against the morning chill. I should have come to you when James first approached me. He made it sound like we were bringing progress, revitalizing something forgotten. He's very convincing. I studied my daughter's profile, so much like her mother's. That's what predators do. They don't present as monsters. They offer what you most desire. I was greedy, she admitted, voice breaking. After Mom died, I watched you retreat into yourself. The business stagnated. I thought that I was stuck in the past. I finished for her. She nodded, tears streaming. James said we could build something extraordinary. That you were holding everything back. We walked in silence for several minutes, the boardwalk creaking beneath our feet. The DA says I might face charges too, she finally whispered. Claudia's working on that. Your cooperation, the evidence you provided about their methods, it helps. Dad, I signed those papers. I let them forge your signature. Listen to me, I interrupted, taking her shoulders gently. What you did was wrong. Terribly wrong. But Grayson's manipulation doesn't erase your responsibility. I know. The road back will be long, Mari. Trust isn't rebuilt overnight. She looked out at the horizon where the sun was now fully visible, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. Do we have a road back? I thought of Sophia, of the promises we'd made when Mariana was born. Of family bonds tested but never truly broken. We do, I said finally. But it runs through the courthouse first. And then through some serious family therapy. For the first time in days, Mariana's smile contained a glimmer of the daughter I remembered. Script part separator, As we drove from the marina toward Claudia's office to finalize the statements, my phone rang. Stefan. Eduardo, they're seizing files at the bank. Helix executives are being detained at the airport. It's collapsing like dominoes. Good, I said, glancing at Mariana in the passenger seat. Justice takes time, but it arrives. Weeks passed in a blur of depositions and hearings. The fraud case expanded as other victims came forward. Property records across 3 counties were under review. Grayson remained in custody after the judge denied bail, citing flight risk and the international connections of his employers. Through it all, Mariana and I began the painful process of rebuilding. Our Thursday therapy sessions became the framework for a new relationship, one built on honesty rather than assumption. I moved back into my house, though many rooms felt haunted by what had transpired. Mariana took an apartment downtown, her choice to establish independence I could respect. The morning of the preliminary hearing arrived with unexpected clarity. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters when we arrived. Mr. Santos, one called out. How does it feel to face the man who nearly stole your legacy? Before I could answer, Mariana stepped forward. My father taught me that legacy isn't about property or money. It's about integrity. Something I forgot and am working to relearn. Her words caught me by surprise. Inside, we sat together in the front row, watching as Grayson was let in, his expensive suit replaced by prison orange. When the judge entered and proceedings began, I felt a strange peace. The house that nearly tore us apart was just wood and stone. The true foundation, the one worth fighting for, sat beside me, damaged but not destroyed. The courtroom fell silent as Grayson was sentenced to 15 years. His once polished appearance had deteriorated over the months of trial. As they led him away, he looked back at us, not with anger now, but with a hollow stare of a man who'd gambled everything and lost. Outside, reporters swarmed again. Claudia handled most questions with professional precision, but one reporter pushed through directly to me. Mr. Santos, now that you've won, what happens to the development plans? I glanced at Mariana before answering. Those properties will become the Santos Wildlife Preserve, as my father originally intended. Some legacies aren't meant to be converted to cash. 6 months later, I stood at the preserve's dedication ceremony. The weathered marina had been transformed into an educational center. Children pressed their faces against aquarium glass while guides explained coastal ecosystems. Mariana approached, clipboard in hand. She'd taken charge of the preserve's educational programming, finding purpose in protection rather than development. The school tours are booked solid through spring, she said. Who knew conservation could be so popular? I smiled, watching her confidence grow in this new role. Your grandfather knew. As sunset painted the sky, we walked along the new boardwalk named in honor of Sophia. Our relationship was different now, tempered by betrayal but strengthened through rebuilding. Some days were still difficult, old wounds reopening in unexpected moments. Dad, Mariana said, pausing at the railing. I found Mom's letters in the attic. The ones she wrote for me to read when I got married someday. My throat tightened. She wanted you to have guidance when she couldn't be here. She warned me about men like James. About confusing ambition with character. Tears glistened in her eyes. I should have listened. I placed my arm around her shoulders. We both have regrets, Mari. But your mother would be proud of who you're becoming now. As we watched the horizon, I realized some inheritances can't be stolen or transferred, like resilience, forgiveness, and the capacity to begin again. These were the true assets worth protecting, the legacy that would outlast any structure built of mere brick and stone.